Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 68 of the Knuckle Sammich podcast, the official MMA podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas R. Shackelford.
We're breaking the news now. Nate Diaz is out of UFC 241 because he's smoking I think maybe at this exact moment, is smoking a giant Bob Marley blunt at his open workout.
And our producer, Mr. Leighton Dip Shaventone.
Haters gonna hate.
I absolutely hope that that's not the case, but I did see the video confirmation. Nate Diaz is smoking a blunt at the open workout.
Speaking of videos, if you follow me on Snapchat, you would have seen a video from last weekend. The video at a jiu-jitsu event that Thomas and Jake competed at. It started out with host Drake fighting some guy who had
It's not fighting.
It's not a fight.
rolled whatever with some guy who probably not showered in quite a long time.
Confirmed.
The guy smacked Drake in the side of the head, then Drake got vaped and tackled him. Well, more of the story is Drake got tapped out like a little bitch.
Did
Yeah.
you even watch?
I watched the entire fight.
Not good. Not
Hey,
good.
You know, you live and you learn. That was your first one ever. What I really want to know is what were your general thoughts of the thing, Leighton? Because within about 2 minutes of you being there, we hear a shrill, and some kid had his humerus broken, and they're tying him up on the mat. What did you think? The totality of the event.
I thought it was cool. I thought it would have been better if Drake got to fight more than one time.
Yeah, that was.
Cause he had screwed us in back and stuff, but it was neat.
You know what? Really
Some
quick,
guys-
I am going to try and get the guy that runs it on here so we can talk to him to try and get Drake another match.
For that same event.
For another event, I'm like, look, he paid $95, he lost to one guy, you got to get him in another match.
Yeah, that's the biggest bummer about jiu-jitsu tournaments that I've found. And another bummer is that it is not anything like what I thought it would be, as far as scoring goes.
No, I don't even know the scoring.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
Here's what I do. I either submit him or get submitted. So, like, if I'm losing...
Kill or be killed.
My first match, I was going against a tough kid. I could have sat there with another minute and wrote it out and not get tapped. I don't know how to score the thing. I was just like, I'm just going for it. Whatever happens, happens.
Go for broke.
Anyway, though, so my one big critique of this sport event, whatever you want to call this thing, I guess in Thomas's bracket, the experts in the no-gi, they had 10-minute rounds. So I'm across the match watching Drake fight Scumbeard, and I look over, I see Sean take down Billy Bob from Friday Night Lights.
From Friday Night.
And I look at the clock, and I'm like, oh, that's Varsity Blues, not Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, that's what I was
That's
saying.
Varsity
Billy Bob
Blues.
From Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues, my bad. I look at the clock, like, oh shit, it got 9 minutes still.
Oh, yeah.
So then I watched Drake go back over. They have not moved a single inch.
Oh.
And Thomas is laying on this guy is getting point at the point, like 16-0 at some point, like 4 minutes to go in the fucking fight.
The poor guy, I probably could have beat him like 10,000 to nothing. He was a portly fellow, so like
Portly, put
as
it
far
nicely.
as submissions go, there just wasn't a lot I could do. He's just a portly fellow, you know. But points-wise, someone actually sent me a text like, hey, I saw you were like second on the points board. I don't know what you mean. And they sent me a picture, and I actually, on the day, I got like second place for most points scored on that poor guy.
So the guy who doesn't know how points are scored scored the second most points. I think that sums the tournament up.
Well, you know, at some point, like Leighton said, I took him down really quick. I thought it was a 5-minute match. I took him down really quick. Had I known it was a 10-minute round before I got out there, I would not have taken him down so quick. I would have slowed down the match. Instead, I took him down real quick. I'm scoring all these points, and at some point, I look over at the clock, and there's like 6 minutes left. And I look at the ref, I go, how long are these matches? And he goes, 10 minutes. And I looked at the guy underneath me. I'm just smothering him to death. And I go, look, man, I'm sorry to be so lazy just laying on top of you. I did not know it was 10-minute rounds.
No, and there was a lot of people that I think didn't realize they were 10-minute rounds either, because I would look up and there would be 30 seconds left in a 10-minute match, 0-0.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Billy Bob versus the smaller Billy Bob. That was an exhibition, man.
And that guy ended up beating me.
He
He gave me my second match.
did he sub you?
Yeah, he did. He got me. I got
Kill
him.
or be killed. You know the technique.
Yeah. I beat him in overtime in the gi, and then no gi, he got me.
And then after he came up to you and told you how he beat you.
He did. He's like, that's like my favorite move. So it's one of those things. Like, had you known that was his favorite move, you could have stayed away from it. It was a fun day. I just wanted to get an outsider's perspective. I cracked up because I think when I was telling Drake about it, I was like, dude, I've never seen anybody get hurt. It's cool. And then within 2 minutes of you being there, that poor kid gets his arm just like snapped into.
Yeah, I remember Drake sat down, so I just went and sat down in the bleachers or whatever. And I guess as soon as I left, the guy got his fucking arm broken.
Yeah,
It's like, shit, I missed out on that.
Then the dude that broke his arm was like crying on his buddy's shoulders and stuff. I'm like, you had the option not to break his arm.
No, dude.
You were beating him like 20 to nothing.
He was destroying this poor boy, and I'm watching, and like for him to show motion after he broke the guy's arm really surprised me because I was watching, and then he had this submission locked up. And the guy probably should have tapped, and I saw him kind of just like give this guy like a death look, and then just lean his head all the way back, and it looked like he purposely just broke his arm.
Just no chance.
Like yes, like he basically walked up, looked at him, stomped on his throat, and then he started crying about it.
Yeah, the tears at the end. I did not see the circumstance that caused it. I just heard the blood-curdling scream.
Yes.
And everybody, the sudden gasp of air. Yeah, if you purposefully break someone's arm, I don't know if crying afterwards is really the best move.
No, it was 100% an intentional act. I saw it in his eye.
But the unfortunate effect of that is two guys in Drake's bracket didn't get to fight.
Yeah.
I think we got one match out of it.
That's how I got my one match.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is how you got
Because the one guy
match.
got hurt, and then the other guy decided he was done for the day.
Well, I'm gonna try and get the guy that runs he's like the director of the Southern Hemisphere of Fuji. I'm gonna try and get him on so we can talk to him. Try and work out a deal.
Yeah,
broker a deal.
We have some words for him. Unkind. So Dippers, today we are going to discuss the fights last weekend, headlined by Valentina Shevchenko and Liz Carmouche. Very good night of fights. Mr. Shackelford got back in his winning ways. 3 straight wins, won me some money, 3-0 on the day. We're going to break down UFC 241, headlined by Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic. A little revenge match for Stipe. And on that note, Leighton C., producer, you know what to do.
Welcome to the Knuckle Sammich Podcast with Thomas R. Shackelford, a sauce on the side production.
Alright, Mr. Shackelford, so let's go ahead and start it off. Volkan Ozdemir wins by a second round TKO of Ilir Latifi. Ozdemir, Mr. No Time, looked absolutely awesome in this fight. Did you learn anything during this fight, or is this basically how you thought the fight would go?
It is how I thought. He did get taken. I got a little worried because old Latifi got a couple big shots in on him and took him down once pretty quick, and I was like, oh no. But, Ozdemir, after that initial takedown, he really just took over the fight. So it went how I thought it was going to go. It's nice to see Volkan back on the winning track. Latifi, he's struggling a little bit right now. I still think he's one of the better ones in the division. We'll just see. I don't really know what's next for either one of them because they've had so many losses the last few fights. But it was good to see Ozdemir back in the winning spotlight.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, especially my Bovada account agrees with you. Next up, we have Vincent Lukoy win a split decision fight against Mike Perry. The most exciting fight of the night, in my opinion. After the fight, there was questions whether or not Mike Perry should have won that fight. If you look at the damage of both the guys' faces, Vincent Lukoy looked like he had never been touched. Mike Perry looked like basically Sloth's stunt double off the Goonies. His nose was obviously broken. Mike Perry has a wedding coming up, so that's not a good look for his wedding pictures, but I don't think Mike Perry would have it any other way. What did you think about the fight? Do you think Lukoy had won the decision? And ultimately, what's next for both of these guys?
We won on the pick, but I actually thought Perry won the fight. I thought he was landing definitely landing the harder strikes. Maybe he wasn't throwing as much as Lukoy, but he was definitely throwing the most. And he got a few takedowns here and there. Actually wobbled Lukoy a few times. I really think Luque actually won off. He was pressing the action. He was the one moving forward, whereas Mike Perry was kind of bouncing around in and out.
I think damage had effect to do with it, too.
Well, his nose didn't get busted really bad until the last 10, 15 seconds.
But he was bleeding like a stuck
He was. I think maybe the amount he was bleeding and Lukoy just always seemingly the one moving forward probably won it for him. Again, we won the pick. It was a close fight, but really I thought Perry won.
I actually do too. If you didn't see their faces after the fight and you just watched the fight, all 3 rounds, I thought that Mike Perry had actually won 2 of those rounds.
Yeah, and bummer for him. He got that knee in the last 15 seconds. And then, dude, he's got to be one of the toughest dudes ever. He's just laying on top, taking a guillotine choke, and he's just pounding the dude's chest. Did you see the crowd booed him?
He flipped him off.
Yeah, he was flipping the crowd off, flipping the birds. If you boo that fight, you don't need to be there. I mean, you need to just go watch somebody get murdered.
I will say, the refs this weekend were quick to jump into the action against the cage.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I was all on board for this fight. I think Mike Perry obviously gained a ton of fans, a lot of respect. And it's going to be fun to see what's next for him. I think he looked better in this fight than I'd ever seen him.
He did. I really thought he did too, man. He's crazy athletic. For everything he is, a super goofy guy, kind of a culture vulture. He's self-proclaimed 1/18th African American. He's the whitest dude ever. For everything that he is, that you either love him or hate him, he's super athletic and he just keeps getting better and better. The bad thing about a nose being hurt that bad, it's a long layoff. He's got 6 months, no contact, so probably aren't even looking to see him back in it for a year or so.
That's such a bummer. Next up, we have Valentina Shevchenko defeating Liz Carmouche by unanimous decision. If you look at the numbers after the fight, they're very misleading. Carmouche actually landed 70% of her strikes. I think 10 of them were actually significant, though. And she actually outstruck Valentina Shevchenko, even though it was a very, very clear decision for Shevchenko. Looked sharp as we've seen her. What's next for Shevchenko? I mean, realistically, I don't think that there's an exciting matchup or a fight. Obviously, Henry Cejudo came out, called her out in a joking manner. But I don't think that there's an exciting fight for her at that weight class.
I cannot think of anybody. I cannot think of anybody off the top of my head. As far as the fights go, you have some weirdness there. If you watch that fight, you saw Liz Carmouche was throwing punches from 5 feet away, just 5 feet away, just throwing combos. She didn't want to be there. I felt like she didn't want to get knocked out or hurt real bad, and that's how the fight went. And she stayed away the whole time. Valentina hit her. But at some point, so on the ESPN Plus app, you can actually, so you can watch it and it'll show the strike count. If you flip it one way, it'll show the strike count and it'll show 2 little pictures of the fighters. And say Valentina was hitting her in the head a bunch, Carmouche's head would actually glow red off and on. I figured this out a couple cards ago whenever Arlovsky was punching, when he was beating up Rothwell, and Rothwell's just his face was just glowing red like a stoplight, and that was it. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Well, then I figured out this app. So on this app, I was watching this fight briefly because it was such a bad fight. I mean, it was just one-sided. They actually have the total strikes and everything on the app. At 3:30 of round 5, they show Carmouche, her whole body's kind of in yellow, which means caution, she's getting beat up a little. They have Valentina's legs glowing red, which means they got hit a lot. They have it that Carmouche landed 55 of 73 leg strikes.
What?
Yes. You know what it was? In round like 2 and 3, Carmouche or Valentina got takedowns. Carmouche was doing that from her guard, that little heel strike to Valentina's legs.
And it made him glow red.
And that made him glow red. That's why her total strike count is 72 of 125, where Valentina's was 58 of 132.
That's amazing. I didn't realize how those strikes were absorbed.
These strike counts are terrible.
Yeah.
You cannot look on this app for those. And we've talked about it, like when Damian Maia's last fight where he just actually absolutely smothered the dude. They only had him listed as 2 significant strikes. And he was on top of the dude in mount for about 13 minutes of the fight. So, kind of a goofy fight. Goofy if you're, especially goofy if you were watching it on, kind of like I was, just kind of like watching the rankings there, or watching the stats there. I don't know what's next for either one of them. Carmouche, this is her second title fight in 2 weight classes. I don't think anybody's really, I don't think anybody's really gunning for her another match.
Yeah.
Here's the rankings right now. You got Valentina, then you got Joanna, who's going back down to 115, but she's already got a loss. Carmouche lost. Jessica I lost. The next one is Caitlin Chukian, and she's got a fight coming up. After that, Jennifer Maia. There's just not a lot of people that you would recognize.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be rough sledding trying to get her a fight that people are actually going to get up to watch. So let's go ahead and break down UFC 241. Obviously, I said, Mr. Shackelford, you are 3-0 in your last 3 fights. You're back in the winning column, back on fire. Let's keep it rolling for this weekend. This card is absolutely stacked. And we're going to start it off with 2 guys who are ranked in the top 9 of the bantamweight division. We have Rafael Assunção, who opens as the plus 140 dog, to Corey Sandhagen, who is the minus 170 favorite. Mr. Shackelford, I know we talked last time before Sandhagen's fight how much we really, really liked him. Do you think he has it to beat Rafael Assunção?
I do. I don't want to say I'm on the hype train, but I knew he was a very tough fighter in his first fight in the UFC.
I feel like you built the Corey Sandhagen hype train.
Well, I had heard about him previously, so I kind of started looking into him, and I did, his first couple fights.
You were on him early.
On him. The big one was that Hands of Stone.
John Lineker?
Lineker. He really put a clinic on Lineker.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a way to beat Lineker, he just did it to perfection. And that kind of showed me, because his first fight in the UFC was like gunslinger. He just went out there, kind of went wild. But if you can be a gunslinger but be that precise to beat a guy like Lineker, I think he's something special. Assunção's coming off that big loss to Marlon Moraes. I just think maybe there's enough tape out there on Assunção, who's been doing this forever, the Sandhagen's coaches are going to be able to build another really great plan for him, and he's athletic enough and skilled enough to just follow it to a T. So it wouldn't blow my brains out if Assunção won, but I expect Sandhagen to win at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I love watching Sandhagen fight. Next up, we have 2 guys in the top 10 of the middleweight division. We have Derek Brunson, who opens as a plus 135 dog, to Ian Heinisch, who is a minus 165 favorite. Mr. Shackelford, what's the pick?
Heinisch is the favorite?
He is the favorite.
God, Vegas is getting better. They're getting a lot better at some of these.
I've noticed that. I think over the last, early on, whenever you were picking a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
The last few, they've been pretty spot on.
The only one in recent memory that I think they really botched was Gilbert Burns last week. And that's because that dude was 20-0 and Burns got a pretty handily victory. So, listen, this is going to be a close fight. I like Heinisch in it. He's coming off that big win over a dude that I was big on, Antonio Carlos Jr. I was big on him. Heinisch looked very, very good against him. I was gonna go Heinisch. I'm going Heinisch as far as the skills-wise go. I think Brunson is definitely on the land side of his career. He didn't look that good in his last fight against Elias Theodorou. He did get the win, but he just hasn't looked that good. I think Heinisch is going to get in there, out-wrestle him, make it a really dirty night for Brunson. But if you're looking... If you're trying to play that, make as much money as you can, Brunson's not the worst dog to go for, but I really think this is a Heinisch. This is going to be a thorough Heinisch victory.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that there's actually going to be more value in a dog later that you might like. So I think you're going to change your tune on that a little bit. Next up, we have two guys. This is the first team all body. This is the fight of first team all body. Two guys ranked in the top 7 of the middleweight division. Basically, whenever these two guys walk out to the center of the octagon, everybody in the room is going to think this will be the fight of the night. And I really think that there's some truth behind it. You have Yoel Romero, who opens as a minus 160 favorite, to Paulo Costa, who is a plus 130 dog. Mr. Shackelford, I don't think we've seen Costa as a dog inside the octagon. I didn't fact check that, but I'm pretty sure he's been a heavily favorite every single time we've talked about him on this show. Gets his first real huge test against Yoel Romero. Who do you like in this fight?
This is a toss-up. This
Yes.
is a tough one. You know, Costa, we really haven't
They're the
even
same
seen
guy.
him. They really are. I mean, Costa, we've seen him tested one time. Uriah Hall stung him with some punches. He stung him pretty bad. It was one of those that he had to come back from. That's the biggest test we've seen him. But then, you know, you say he stung him, that was his biggest test, but then he absolutely blistered Uriah Hall in the second round. So, and then as you look at Romero, you know, he's had these 2 losses to Whitaker. One probably could have been a draw. One could have been a victory for him. After that, he has not really had a test since Tim Kennedy. Jacare, you know, the Jacare fight was very, very close also. But Tim Kennedy, you remember, had him basically quit on the stool.
Yeah.
He kind of snuck one out there. And when I think of what kind of a fighter Costa is, he's more of a Tim Kennedy. He's in your face, pressing the whole time, throwing punches, not going to give you a break until you go down. However, since we have seen Costa stung and had his bell rung bad by Uriah Hall, I don't know if he can stand up to the Romero's punches or knees or kicks or whatever the dude throws. And after the Kennedy and Jacare fights, Romero has really, really perfected that lull you to sleep and then explode and then lull you to sleep and explode style to conserve his energy. I am going to go Romero. I do not think this will go the distance. I'm looking at probably first round TKO, KO on Romero. And again, very close fight. To me, this is the most fun fight on the card.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what's going to happen.
No, and that's saying a lot for the next fight that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a great fight, I think. And I feel like it's almost odd talking about Yoel Romero now. He's 42.
He is. He's 42, and he's got the body of a teenage Hercules.
Oh, yeah. Remember Baby Hercules?
Baby Hercules.
The little kid.
Oh, the
Yeah.
little kid that went viral back in the day?
Yeah.
He's probably got my body right about now.
I think he does. Next up, we have, they're actually fighting, I think, at welterweight. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's Anthony Pettis and Nate Diaz. Anthony Pettis, coming off of that big win against Wonder Boy, he finds himself as the favorite in this fight. He is a minus 140 favorite over Nate Diaz, who is a plus 110 dog. Mr. Shackelford, I think this fight has a lot of promise. I think that if we'd have talked about this fight, just 6 months ago, it wouldn't have been that exciting until after we saw Pettis in the Ferguson fight, saw Pettis again against Wonder Boy. Seems to have new legs underneath him. What's the pick in this one? I think this is going to have potential to be fight of the night.
I'm going to go Diaz. And the reason I'm going Diaz is because I think at 170, I think his cardio is just gonna just purely just burn Pettis out. I mean, Pettis is, big puncher, big kicker. He's more explosive. He has more dynamic weapons. But I kind of see Nate weathering the early storm and then just coming on and, this could be a night where he throws 500 punches type thing.
Yeah.
He has had 3 years off, which 9 times out of 10 you want to pick against the guy that's had 3 years off. But I think for him, he was active, still trains every day, still big triathlon guy. It's just not. There's not going to be the ring rust there. I don't think there'll be the ring rust there. I see it. Pettis coming out, maybe stinging him early, but I think that range that Diaz can play in is really going to bug Pettis. He's going to move forward, and I don't think it's going to look much different than the Tony Ferguson fight. Pettis got off, did hurt him a little bit, but then the wave of strikes, it's going to be the same style.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That will be Shackelford's lock dog pick of the week.
If he makes it. I mean, we broke the news earlier that he's, smoking blunts as big as King Kong fingers. I believe Wiz Khalifa said once.
Yeah. I don't know how he gets away with that.
I don't, dude. We talked about earlier. There is a threshold of THC. There is a threshold you can have. Famously, his brother got a lifetime suspension for breaking the threshold. That was later reduced and everything. There's a famous Nick Diaz quote, I believe, where he says, people are saying that marijuana is going to affect my career, but really my fighting career is affecting my marijuana smoking. They've never shied away from it. After the Conor fight, he was vaping some marijuana CBD pins that he was trying to rep and probably getting paid for.
At this point, Nate Diaz isn't doing anything he's not getting paid for.
No, man. And if you look on Twitter, I saw that video originally. Dana White retweeted it, and he had the little slappy face emoji guy. Come on. So if he makes it to the fight, that's our lock dog of the week. If he doesn't, we can't be held liable for a Diaz brother.
No, nobody can, except for not even a Diaz brother can be held liable.
They cannot be held liable for themselves.
So last up, we have the heavyweight title match. We have Daniel Cormier, who is minus 140 favorite, to Stipe Miocic, who is the plus 110 dog. I am just excited to see the body structure of Daniel Cormier now that he's gotten four fights where he just hasn't had to cut any weight for. Who is your pick in this fight? I think this is another fight that's just, I have no idea what's going to happen in it.
Yeah, he looks much better. That first fight, he looked bad. He looked like he gained 40 pounds in a month, that type of fat. He looks much better. I've been keeping an eye on the embedded videos that they've been putting out. Luckily, they showed one of him swimming and stuff. He's thick, but he's not jiggly puff like he was in that first fight, or for that matter in the Black Beast fight. So he looks like he's legitimately like he did when he first came into MMA, where he's legitimately just a thick 240, 245 pound guy. He still looks like he loves chicken wings though. So I'm going to pick Cormier. I know I rewatched the fight and I thought this to begin with. Stipe was leading the dance in that fight. He was really pushing him around, bullying him around a little bit. I think that was on purpose. I think DC wanted him to come in hard so he could hit that underhook to that short shot. And it worked. I said all the time, you don't always have to be a better wrestler or jiu-jitsu player or athlete than the guy. Sometimes you can just trick him. I think DC was in very bad shape in the last one, and they knew that they could trick him into that shot. I think this time it'll be a much closer fight. I don't think it's going to end as quick, but I think DC won't get pushed around like he did the last time the first couple minutes. I think he does have to be more assertive, does have to wrestle a touch more to get the win, but the fact remains Stipe does get rocked in every fight.
Every single fight, even his wins.
Yes, he either gets dropped, he gets jiggly legs or chicken legs. And with DC, as powerful he is at heavyweight, and this is probably his last fight ever, I do not see him losing this fight.
Yeah. Man, I want to see Stipe win this fight.
I know. I love Stipe.
I do.
As far as just nice dudes, like, you just can't not like the guy. He always fights well. You know, the dude's still a freaking firefighter.
Still.
You know.
Yeah, he's still taking shifts at the firehouse.
I love both these guys. If you haven't seen the E60 on DC that they did, you'll be crying within 30 seconds. Before that, because the whole episode, the episode begins with a dude that's got like no arms and legs who's trying to be like a world champion video gamer. So like it just starts you off in tears, and it doesn't get any better after that. So I love both the dudes. As far as the heavyweight division goes, they're two of the best that have ever done it in the UFC. It just sucks for Stipe that it's DC's going against here.
Yeah, I agree. I am as excited for this card as I have been for any card in a long time. So anything else in the MMA world that we need to keep an eye on? Any little news and notes that we need to touch on before we wrap this show up?
I did, a little bit of sad news. Probably my favorite female fighter ever, Kat Zingano, got released from the UFC either today or yesterday is when the rumors started popping up. That's a bummer. It's kind of weird. I wonder if it has to do with the brain trauma stuff she's bringing up, because she had a lot of issues with concussions and stuff over the last few years, and she's really she was on Rogan's podcast and some other stuff, bringing light. But she wasn't really working with the UFC PI. She was working with another brain institute type thing. So I always wonder if that's got something to do. It's like the NFL. It's like some of those dudes are, talking about how concussions are affecting them and stuff. They're not necessarily put on a pedestal like some of the other guys in their time. So.
Right.
Other than that, man, we kind of need to watch where Cyborg's going to go. I think she's going to go to ONE FC personally.
That'd be a huge get for ONE FC, who's basically just been getting everybody that people love that are being released by the UFC. And that's so weird that they just released her after a big win like that.
I didn't watch the video, but apparently there's a video. I saw the headline for it where her and Dana were having this interaction, and the headline was like, Dana admits to Cyborg that he's been lying. Apparently her boyfriend, or I believe they're blaming it on the boyfriend who runs her media account, actually dubbed, like an old Chinese kung fu movie, actually dubbed words over Dana White speaking. That's why he put out that 16-minute ESPN video where Laura Senko was, and he just said, "Hey, we're done with her. She wants to go. We'll let her go," type thing. So really, it was a lot her team's fault that really kind of blew it up.
Wow.
Hate to see her go. We talked at length about how we thought maybe she's on the back half, and now the girls are really going to be giving her her best shot. So. All those guys, I think ONE FC is a great move, guys and girls. If you're done with the UFC, ONE FC to me is the next best and biggest thing to go to.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree there. So anything else before we sign off and hopefully give these people 5-0 week?
No sir. Buy some good beers, get some good food, be ready to sit down Saturday night, because I predict those last 3 fights are going to be insane.
I agree. And on that note, for Dre, for Layton C, and Mr. Shackelford, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.